Electricast.
Welcome to Her Extraordinary Life by Design, where we celebrate women who are shaping their lives one extraordinary day at a time. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, self-care coach for women who are ready to make self-care a priority to support them in life and business. Every week, I'll be speaking with inspiring women from various walks of life who will share their personal journeys and will discover how they have fearlessly carved their own paths as business owners, passionately pursuing their dreams and creating a meaningful impact on their communities. So let's get started. Hello, and welcome to our Extraordinary Life by Design podcast. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, and today we're talking with a really good friend of mine, Vashti Venari. Vashti is a vibrational medicine woman and founder of Love Letters from Venus, a feminine healing and development company that offers restorative resources for modern women. Her healing methods are derived from the intersection of storytelling, subconscious gardening, and archetypal analysis. As an ordained minister, initiated high priestess, and subconscious architect, she combines voice, ancient spiritual technologies, and somatic psychology to initiate feminine well-being. Vashti, we've known each other for several years now, and I'm always pleasantly surprised and amazed at all of the amazing things you are doing with your life. I am so grateful that you found time to spend with me today. So welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here.
So before we get started, it's tradition for me to start my podcast episodes by having my guests tell us a little bit more about themselves. So please give us a little bit of a behind the scenes view of Vashti the woman, who you are, and then we're going to talk more about what you do.
Ooh, okay. Vashti the woman. So I would say that, I have been on a spiritual journey for about 7 to 8 years now, and it was triggered by a relationship. And as transformational and challenging as that relationship was, I'm so, so thankful because it was the gateway to myself. And I'm convinced that if I didn't have that experience, I would probably still be on the hamster wheel. But about me, I'm curious. I'm an avid reader, and
I know you're incredibly intelligent. I can say that for sure. I've just known you for such a long time. And like I said, I'm always pleasantly surprised by how you're able to transition in so many different ways. Like you pick up an idea and you look for ways like, how is this fitting into my life? Does this really even resonate with me? Like you really do a real deep dive. And I really admire that about you. So when I say that I'm always pleasantly surprised, the word surprised, I'm not saying that I want to reiterate that it's always a pleasant surprise to me when you tell me something new and unique about your life, because it's just like, for me, I've said to you, I feel like you're my daughter from another mother, because if that's, what you're doing with your life and going out and making changes and taking those deeper dives, the inner journey to finding out who you are, it really speaks to me. And I feel like that deeper connection to you, like I said, if you were my daughter, I would be like saying, yeah, I'm really proud of you. So even though you might not be able to find the words to say who you are, those are some of the words I would describe for you.
oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And just having your presence in my life has been such a blessing. And I really am thankful for that mothering energy that you give me. You are so nurturing. And yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about what you do, because I'm so intrigued. You describe yourself as a vibrational medicine woman. So can you explain what that means and then what drew you to this type of healing work?
Oh, yeah. So it was absolutely my own experiences that have led me to what I'm doing now. I didn't always refer to myself as a vibrational medicine woman, but over the years, as I've collected new tools and learned different methodologies, that's what I feel I am now. But all of my work stems from the subconscious mind. And when I say vibrational medicine, it's really about, because we are vibrational beings, it's really about getting our fields, our bodies, our nervous systems in regulation. So a lot of my vibrational medicine does deal with things like EFT tapping, biofield tuning, but a big part of it is hypnosis, because I feel like that is the core. That's the key. In terms of what got me here, my first business, this is my third iteration of business, but what got me here, my first business, I was styling. And as I was with my clients, I noticed that it was so much more about what happened in the fitting room. It was really a form of healing because I got to witness women really see themselves in a way that they haven't seen themselves before. And I didn't know when I was getting into that work. I thought I was going to be a stylist, but I ended up being the confidant, the friend. You know how, like, when you get in the chair with your hairdresser and you just end up, it's therapy. That's what I noticed was happening. And so, as that business was coming to an end, I took the seeds from that, and that's what really activated me into I want to do more. I want to do more than just make women feel good with their clothing. I want to give women a lasting feeling of peace, a lasting feeling of joy. So that's how I got into podcasting and coaching through the podcast. And as that evolved, I did that for 4 years. And that's where I picked up the bulk of my vibrational medicine techniques. And then after about 4 years, I felt that it was time for a change. And okay, have to let the podcast die and bring those seeds into the new iteration. So that's where I am now. This is the third iteration of the work that I've been doing. And it's more personal, it's more sacred, I would say. So I'm super excited to offer it to the world, those who feel the call.
Yeah. What I really love about that is you were not afraid to, make changes. I think a lot of times people get into this thing like, oh, if this didn't work, then that's it. I'm done. And you instead took pieces of what you learned from each experience and you kept building your toolbox and filling it. And you decided, okay, now I'm ready with this a vast array of things that I do that can really support the clients that I work with, which like you were saying, a lot of the time we do look to those people like our stylist, our nail salon person, our hairstylist, to be that person that is our confidant, that we can express how we're feeling, the things that are going on in our lives. And we may not even recognize that we're doing that in the first place, but that's what we're doing. We're sharing ourselves because we feel like that connection, that bond through the work that that person is doing for us. So I really love that. So I want to talk about your ordained ministry. So you've been initiated a high priestess. How do you blend ancient spiritual technologies with modern practices to support women's well-being?
So in my studies, going over what the primitive cultures or the first cultures, seeing how they function, seeing how they revered the woman in particular, and being able to see how they worshiped and the rituals that they used. And a lot of them were very nature based. So these ancient technologies that I refer to are things that have been tools in our toolkit for years, like essential oils. That is an ancient technology. Breath work. That is an ancient technology. Um, so seeing how aligned older cultures were with nature and seeing their spiritual practices, a lot of them, they use things that are available to us now. And so the word technology, we usually think future based, right? But technically, a technology is anything that we create, anything that we invent. So the things like the essential oils, yes, that is a technology because we've invented that for our well-being. I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah, that makes so much sense. And like they say, the way that manifesting works too, really is you have to think it first before you create it. Because you obviously have to go through the brainstorming of like, what does this look like? What do I even see it looking like? And then going through all of the processes. I think that's kind of like what you were doing with your businesses, the iterations of your business. Although you may have been a stylist, you really were the inner workings of what you were doing really are part of what led you here where you are. So I think that it was just that whole taking those steps, thinking it, working it, finding the tools, bringing them together, melding them together, and then finally coming into this new iteration of who you've decided that is the woman who you've always been, but you've now found her and you're actually letting her out. And I think that is one thing women seem to think that we're becoming someone else, but we're actually tapping in to the woman that we've always been. I think we just forget it. And I don't know if you've ever had that discussion with your clients, but it really, a lot of the time we think, oh, it's someone new that I'm becoming, when it's really just, it's you. It's that true essence of who you already are, but you're taking away the layers. You're removing the walls. You're removing all that negativity, all of the things that people told you you're supposed to be, and you're becoming that. So I love
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. I'm always telling my clients, like, no, you're not becoming someone new. You are discovering who you always have been, right? You're discovering who you are before you agree to somebody else's permission slip, before you agree to somebody else's guilt trip, you know? And so, yeah, beautiful thing to uncover and unfold and realize, like, wow, I am that girl underneath it all.
Yeah, I love that. So for women, let's talk about clients. For women who are struggling with limiting beliefs or energy blocks, what would be a ritual that you would suggest to help them? Like, where would they start to initiate that transformation and feminine empowerment?
So I always start off with your deepest desire and the feeling that you reject the most. And the reason why I always start women off with this is because your deepest desires are always, always, always linked to the feelings that you reject the most. The feelings that we reject are really our biggest clues. They're our biggest gateways to freedom, to thriving. So a lot of the times when we analyze the thing that we want the most, and then we see how it has a relationship to the things that we reject. When we go into those feelings, when we go into the sadness that sometimes we might ignore, when we go into that, oh, I don't want to think down this thought, think that thought and go down that thread. Because as you go down the thread, you're going to discover the core wound. And when you discover your core wound, here in the cause is the same. So whatever wounds us holds infinite wisdom. And when we can get to our core wounds and we can discover exactly what happened to us where we agreed to take on somebody else's limited belief, and then we go back into that moment where we first experienced the wound and we forgive that moment, that is the major release. Our subconscious mind brings us situations in order for us to heal. Now, we call that repeating patterns. Like, okay, every relationship we get into is this, it's the same person that we're dating, right? Well, that's your subconscious mind giving you the chance to make a new choice. It's giving you an opportunity to repair itself. But if we're rejecting these feelings, we're never actually getting to the root cause. And we keep on repeating the pattern. But as soon as we make a new choice by forgiving the core wound, that core experience, that's the freedom. You know, for me personally, my core wound was worthiness. And that was a limiting belief that I got from my father. And so everyone that I dated was the worth of my father, right? Until I got down into the core wound and I forgave my father. The next person that I ended up getting in a relationship with, he's all the best qualities of my father. And so it's really when you go into the childhood and when you address those things and you forgive and you tell your inner child the thing that you really needed to hear. That's to me, I think that's the juice. That
Yeah.
is magic. And yeah. And then when you do things like that, you don't have to necessarily worry about manifesting the thing or doing the full moon ritual, right? Because those are conscious tools. But the core wounds and forgiving that, that's the subconscious tool. And if the subconscious brain is responsible for 95% of our reality, it makes more sense to do the subconscious work. The things like manifestation and the rituals and all those, that's great, but you're only affecting 5% change. if that makes sense. So that's why a lot of my clients, we feel very deeply because feeling is the medicine.
Yeah. Well, I love that you brought that too, because yeah, our conscious brain is analyzing everything. We're aware of those things. So we're trying to like analyze everything. So when we get into the same relationships, we're analyzing and then we're looking at our faults of why we're going repeating those patterns. And like you were saying, our subconscious holds clues for us to go back into and see, okay, you can, if you're aware of your patterns and allow yourself to tap into it, you're going to be able to find a different path. And I think that's what I love about the work that you're doing. So now I want to talk about Love Letters from Venus. What originally inspired you to found it and create that restorative resource for modern women? And how does your own story weave into your mission?
Yeah. So Love Letters from Venus is a devotion to Great Mother. For this third iteration of my business, I promised Great Mother that it's not going to be a business. This is going to be my active devotion to her. So realizing that I'm not just a CEO, which I don't really resonate with that word, but I am the vehicle for her work, it inspires me to approach it differently because this is ceremony at this point, right? And for me, because I was very much functioning in my masculine energy, I was very much a conventional woman trying to do all the things and climbing the corporate ladder and doing all the masculine things that they teach us. So that's how you get ahead. That's how you have success. Until I realized that always being in my active young energy was depleting me. And so I went on, I would say, a 9 month journey of deep, intense study of the feminine and the feminine element. And what does the essential feminine, what does she entail? What is that all about? How can I embody her in my life? And through that 9 months, so much alchemy, so much transformation. Who I was before could not even exist in this new layer and texture of me. And so I feel like when you heal the woman, you heal the world because the feminine psyche, feminine power has a ripple effect. And so getting in touch and in tune with my own power, it was like I have a responsibility to show other people that they have this power too. So that's really what inspired me to start Love Letters from Venus. And whether you believe in Great Mother, whether you call it God, whether you call it Source, Universe, whatever, my intention with Love Letters from Venus, all who enter the circle, my intention is to show them all the different paths of love and all the forms that love takes. We're walking the path together and we're learning together.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the word love. I feel that, I mean, that is our greatest energy source. That's my opinion. I feel like when we can see through the lens of love, Gabby Bernstein, this is what her book, You Are the Guru. I really loved her five, no, it's six. Like see through the lens of love, surrender to creative choices, inspired action clears the path, and stillness we receive, and compassion creates connection. And what I love about that, and she had the last one was You Are the Guru. But what I loved about see through the lens of love the most, that one resonated with me the most because it's really about everything that you do in life, like you were saying, diving deep to that core wound, finding that a way to forgive that core wound. And again, we're not condoning things that happen to us. We're just saying that it's time to let it go. It's a baggage that you don't need to carry. Otherwise, we're not going to live a fulfilling life. So, what I really love about what the Love Letters from Venus and what you're doing is that you're bringing women into that circle to help them to see like it is really the essence of you, of us as women, is love. And so we can use that as our tool to go out into the world and make a difference in whatever thing that we decide is our chosen path. But I really love that you did that. So thank you so much for Love Letters from Venus. I definitely am going to be checking it out for myself. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think that is so important to remind people that love is the only way. The truth is that love is all there is. Everything else is false evidence appearing real. And when you choose to align yourself with the truth of love, like you cannot fail. You know what I mean? Thriving is guaranteed when you choose love every time.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Well, you've planted so many seeds today, Vashti. So, what final thoughts or advice can you share, especially to help not only my generation, the older generation, but the younger generation, helping us to nourish our spirits and to continue growing on our own journeys of self discovery? Because I feel like there is no final destination, really, that the destination is always in the journey that you're on. And if you can look at it from that way, then you're going to look at life with more wide open eyes and more curiosity. So, what are your final thoughts or anything that you want to leave our listeners with?
If I could say anything, if you are on a feminine healing and development journey, I would say start studying the feminine elements of feeling, feeding, and relating. And when you develop a relationship with feeling and feeding and relating and what all of that means and entails, just that alone makes you approach life and people and yourself differently. One of my favorite things to do is write and journal because that gets you in touch with your heart and it kind of bypasses all the stuff that's floating around in your brain. And when you really kind of just get into the flow of writing, that's when you can access the things that will help you grow in your journey. So, yeah, studying those three principles, that's the beginning journey for, so I would say.
Yeah, I like that. Feeling, feeding, and then relating. I like that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so happy that you came on and taught us about vibrational medicine and your unique blend of ancestral technology, story and modern practices. I know myself included that our listeners gained immense value from what you've shared today. And for me, I feel I'm with you. You know, when we live in our alignment with our soul's purpose, we have more joy, we have more gratitude. We're on that higher level vibration of love, of gratitude, of fulfillment, all of those positive emotions that people want more of. And so I'm really happy that you've given us much inspiration to continue on our own journeys of self-discovery and healing. Again, it's been a real pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for your time and energy. And thank you to the listeners for giving us their time and energy as well. I do not take that lightly or for granted because energy is valuable. It's valuable. So I appreciate you and I love you.
I love you too. And to our listeners, remember your inner light. Let it guide you as you walk your sacred path. Thank you for listening and sharing in this space of empowerment and sisterhood. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep designing your extraordinary life one day at a time. Thank you for joining me on Her Extraordinary Life by Design. I hope you've been inspired and empowered by the incredible stories shared on this show. If you enjoyed this episode and the conversations we've had, I would greatly appreciate if you could take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback and support mean the world to me, and it will help others discover the podcast and join our empowering community. Remember to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Together, we can continue to learn from these amazing women, uncover their extraordinary journeys, and be motivated to create our own lives by design. Thank you again for tuning in. Until next time, stay empowered and keep shaping your extraordinary life one day at a time.
Have you ever wondered what actually happens in Congress every day? Stay informed on Capitol Hill's daily happenings with a concise, factual summary of the Senate and House of Representatives' activities from the previous session, free from bias, on the Congressional Record Daily Digest podcast. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and discover the process from the heart of U.S. politics. The Congressional Record Daily Digest, an Electricast production.
Electricast. Hey, heard you like podcasts. Well, check out Dollar Bets. Two sports guys with faces for radio, betting live money against each other on air. That's Dollar Bets with a Z. Find us on the Winner's Edge.
Electricast.